Hey, this is Brian Briscoe, and welcome to the Diary of an Apartment Investor podcast. This is a multifamily brief episode. Today, we're going to talk about commitments, okay, and what exactly a commitment does for you. So, looking back at it, there's a lot of things that I have said that I was going to do, but I was never fully committed. I remember reading Rich Dad, Poor Dad in my 20s. I was in Okinawa at the time, so I could nail it down to 2003 to 2006. But I remember reading Cash Flow Quadrant, which was the second book of the series, while I was on a big boat floating to the Philippines. It was a 36-hour ride on a boat called the HSV. If any of you are military folks and have ever been on one of those, you'll understand exactly what I mean. But imagine being on an airplane, something a little larger than an airplane, with seats a little larger than an airplane, for 36 hours, and that's kind of what this was. So as far as that goes, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then I read the Cash Flow Quadrant. And I remember on that boat ride, sitting down with, a pencil or a pen and a piece of paper and writing down some goals for passive income. And I really liked the Robert Kiyosaki idea, buy assets, that produce cash flow and get that residual income coming in, something that really, really appealed to me. And so I made a bunch of lofty goals. Looking back at it, at the time they were lofty. At the time, I didn't know how I was going to get them, but I figured I could figure it out, right? My goals, I wanted to have $10,000 in passive income, by the time I turned 40, and I think at the time I was probably making, a $60,000 or $70,000 a year salary. And so, $10,000 a year, sounded like it was a whole lot of money. It's like, man, if I can live like I'm living right now off of 60,000 a year, woo, 120, I'll be cooking with butter, right? So made all these goals, and, I had a net worth goal as well. And I wanted to be a millionaire, right around the time that I was 40. And so put all these goals down, and I started thinking, okay, how do I get there? And to me, the answer, Robert Kiyosaki, he actually talks a lot about apartment investing. And I realized wrongly that was a little bit out of reach for me. I kind of thought, okay, I don't even know where to start, because, you go on, you call a realtor up, and realtors don't list, 80 unit apartments. Anyway, I kind of had this idea that apartments were too big for me. So I decided that I would start with single family. And that's what I did. I bought one single family in 2007. Okay. Great year to buy a single family property, in that money was free. I mean, oh my goodness, it was so easy to get that loan. I got 100% of the home finance, and I had to pay, one of the closing cost fees, the financing fee or the lender fee or something out of pocket. So for $3,000, I bought a $200,000 home just north of Salt Lake City. And then the real estate market crashed the next year, and I bought another house then, and somewhere along the line, one of my goals was to buy one single family house a year. That was one of the things that I wrote down on the sheet. But somewhere along the line, I stopped, so 2007, I bought a house. 2008, I bought a house. 2009, I was in Iraq for 6 months of the year. And I just kind of made the excuse. And I mean, if you're looking for excuses, being in Iraq for 6 months, that's a pretty darn good excuse. But I use that as an excuse to not keep going. Okay. 2010, I had just gotten home, just moved my family across the country. And I remember we were looking at buying a house in North Carolina. I spoke to two lenders, and both of them looked at my finances and said, nope, you can't buy a house right now. Lending was a little tighter. And once again, I was probably making about 60,000. And so to have, a $200,000 home with a mortgage, a $300,000 home with a mortgage, and then try to buy another $300,000 home with a mortgage, wasn't working for the lenders. And unfortunately, I was not committed. Okay. There's lots of ways that I could have figured out how to buy another investment property. I just wasn't committed enough. I was comfortable. I was fat and happy, and that's a Marine Corps-ism. That's something we say in the Marine Corps for people that are just too comfortable. They're fat and happy. All right. Got plenty of food and no reason to do anything else. And that's kind of what happened for the next several years. I lost sight of my goals. And quite honestly, it wasn't until my 40th birthday when I sat down and I realized, oh my gosh, wow, I don't have $120,000 in passive income. My salary by then made that much money, but I didn't have $120,000 in passive income. And I mean, quite frankly, I was living a lot better than I was, but it wasn't passive. I had more money to invest. I had more money to do things with, but it was not passive. And then I looked at my net worth, and something else I realized, that the vast majority of my net worth was parked into those two houses, the two houses that I had bought. So anyway, at that time, I committed, and I fully committed. It's just like, all right, I'm not going to waste any more time. And I fully committed to the course of action. All right. Now, what's happened since? I took 2 years to really start. All right. In my mind, I had committed, but there were some things in the way. And so when I fully committed, I was in the Middle East again. I was sitting on another big gray boat in the middle of, I think I was in the Gulf of Aden, when I had my birthday and really committed myself. Once again, if you're looking for excuses, that's a pretty good excuse. But, I got home, and, part of my commitment was I need to learn and I need to have a mentor. And so that part of that commitment, something that really helped me to commit even deeper, was paying a big number for mentorship. I paid $25,000 for mentorship, and that, honestly, I was committed before, but after writing that $25,000 check, I was wholly committed. That was a big enough number that it's like, holy cow, I'm not going to not do anything now. But since writing that check, I have closed on over 1,100 units, and we're closing on capital raise is done. So, it's no longer an open offering. So I feel comfortable talking about it. We're closing on a small property in Denver soon. And, I think it's going to be a nice little deal. We got a couple more under contract, which I can't speak of. We're probably going to do 506B offerings on those. But long story short, if everything we have under contract right now closes, that 1,100 is going to turn into 1,500 really quickly. So that's where I've come since committing. I think the biggest difference between, Brian 15 years ago and Brian now is that level of commitment. Earlier I was somewhat sort of kind of committed, but when things got tough, I just, once again, I was comfortable enough that I didn't care. Later on, I was so committed that I didn't care how tough things got. I was going to follow through. All right. I was going to make multifamily. And quite frankly, I decided to burn the boats. The earliest I was eligible to retire from the Marine Corps was October 31st. And, about the time that I fully committed and I paid that coaching program fee, I decided to burn the boats and never look for another job. It's one thing I told myself, I will not look for another job. All right. It's multifamily or bust. So question for you, how committed are you? All right. Are you committed, or, are you just kind of casually going forward? I'll tell you right now that if you're just kind of casually into this business, you're never going to reach the level of success that you want. You have to commit and you have to push forward. That's it for today. Let's see if you guys can commit and see how many of you guys can get some deals done this year. There's a lot out there for the taking. And, like I said, we got 3 under contract right now. 4, actually. All right. See you guys later.
Hey, if you like that episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But more importantly, if you haven't joined our multifamily educational community, the Tribe of Titans, yet, you are missing out. So get yourself 30 days free by clicking the link below in the description, or go to thetribeoftitans.info, and we'll see you there.